All right, drill, drill, drill. We welcome back to the show Democratic Senator Mary Landrieu from the great state of Louisiana to tell us if a new gang of 10 senators can produce a drilling deal. Senator Landrieu, thank you for coming back on. Tell me about your group of 10. Are you moving towards a drilling deal? That's what all the polls say America wants.
Well, Larry, actually, we're moving towards a plan that will work, and it's going to be part drilling and part conservation. And any group that tells you otherwise is just blowing smoke, because you can't drill your way out of it and you can't conserve your way. So our group is going to shut off all the slogans, and we're going to stop waving the flag and beating our chest, and we're going to come up with an energy plan that will actually close the gap. And there's some great ideas that we can put forward.
Let me just mention, we have up on the full screen, Senator, the so-called group of 10. On the Democrat side, Kent Conrad, Mary Landrieu, Mark Pryor, Blanche Lincoln, Ben Nelson. On the Republican side, Saxby Chambliss, Lindsey Graham, John Thune, Johnny Isakson, Bob Corker. Senator, just tell me, Senator Durbin, I guess your number 2 man, seemed to come out in favor of this, so that looks like a coup in some respects. On the other hand, Senator Reid the other day seemed to throw cold water on it. He said oil and coal makes us sick and we can't do this. Can you convince the leadership to go with you?
We're going to have to convince both the Democratic leadership and the Republican leadership to go with us. We have to convince the Democrats to move closer to drilling, and we have to convince Mitch McConnell and Republicans to move more towards conservation. And anybody that knows anything about this subject will tell you that is exactly true. And there's some real, honest-to-goodness things we can do. We've got to close a $12 million barrel-a-day gap. Newt Gingrich has some good ideas, Boone Pickens has some good ideas, and it can be done. Tell
me a little bit about a bullet or two on the conservation side.
Well, a couple of things. We've got to drive different kind of automobiles, period, the end. They can be big, they can be safe, they can be roomy, but they have to be different. We have to conserve our fuel. We have to drive with different fuels other than gasoline. That's going to be painful because we're going to have to either mandate or give incentives to create a different kind of infrastructure so people can pull up to a pump, and if gas is too high, they can fill up with ethanol. If ethanol is too high, they can fill up with methanol. They can drive flex fuel vehicles. They can plug their vehicles into electric sockets at home. But we need a new kind of car. We've had the same one for 100 years. I think it's time to change. So we've got to do that. Republicans don't like that too much, but we're going to have to try to push that. That's where the real demand on the gasoline side, of course, is for our cars.
I'm sure you saw latest numbers from the Department of Energy. I guess over the July 4th holiday, or at least the last year, driving's down quite a bit. Traffic's down, what, 3–4%? It's the first time in about 20 years. I mean, to a large extent, Senator, market prices work.
Absolutely. And I know this is very difficult to say, but high prices start the country conserving. Now, we don't like the high prices because it also hurts our economy, our small businesses, our truckers, our farmers are screaming, so we've got to get our price down. But you're right, it is in itself a conservation measure. It's just a very painful one, and it's unpredictable. Plus, it's not just the price, Larry, that's a problem, and it's a big problem. It also makes America vulnerable to people who are not our friends. We are funding both sides of the war on terror against ourselves. We're funding the war in Iraq to protect ourselves, and we're giving money to our enemies to fight us.
Yep.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, well, I agree there. There's a couple quickies on this. Is part of your deal going to attack oil company leases?
We're not going to attack anyone, number one, because attacking just, causes headlines. It doesn't get you any oil. But what we're going to say, because I know a lot about this, we do a lot of leasing. I think there's some ways that we can accelerate those leases, that we can say, look, you leased it, you drill it, or you lose it. Now, you've got to do that in the right way. You don't want to disrupt the way we actually explore and produce for oil in the country. I think we can do that. So there are lots of things that we can do, even efficiencies. And it's not just conservation like changing our automobiles. It's strange to believe, but if we all sort of move to a different kind of tire, not mandated, but slowly over time, you could actually save a lot of oil just by inflating your tires. I know that sounds silly, but the numbers really do add up.
Last one. Would this compromise include outer continental shelf drilling? Would it include oil shale, Rocky Mountains out there in the West, extraction, and would it include ANWR?
Let me start with ANWR. It will not include ANWR because it's a deal breaker for Democrats. It's a long, I support drilling in ANWR, believe me. I voted for it 10 times, but we can't do a deal with ANWR in it. But it will include some kind of compromise on the shale. I'm very hopeful. It will include an expansion of offshore. I led the most successful effort. We got 8.3 million acres open a couple of years ago. I'm very proud of that. We need to open more with some local option. I think we can do it. So yes, we're going to have to put a lot on the table. We may take ANWR off, but some other things are going to have to go on the conservation side as well.
This session, before you go out for the summer recess or the Labor Day recess, can you get it done in the next, what, 3-4 weeks?
I'll tell you what we can get done. A framework will be done. We will announce a framework. We'll have a bill by September, and we're going to try to be influential in the next presidential.
All right. I think if you I think if you get your bill, it may not go 100% of the way, but I think you'll have a positive effect on lower prices. Those traders in the futures market will start selling.
Thank you, Larry.
Senator Mayor Landrieu, Louisiana, thank you ever so much.